Hello, this is the seminar Introduction to Programming. Today we're going to see how one works inside the Linux Debian environment. We're going to see some basic skills that you need to have in order to browse the files, the folders, open some files, edit a couple of files, or remove a file or directory, and basically be able to work inside the Linux Debian environment. It is almost similar as if you were in Windows environment, but there are some differences in the user interface that we're going to explore. So the section today, the chapter, is some basic skills while working with Linux Debian distribution. So let's start our Oracle VirtualBox Manager. And from there, let's start our Intro to Programming 32 Oracle VirtualBox appliance. As soon as we see the login prompt, we log in. We can switch to full screen mode, pressing Ctrl plus F, the right control on your keyboard, plus F. So now we have full screen. And this is the Debian distribution of Linux. This is the graphical user interface. Let's start with some basic commands. We were gonna work initially inside the terminal environment. To start the terminal, we go to Applications, Accessories, then to Terminal. We're going to use the command line. When we see the dollar symbol, it means that we are in the Linux command prompt. So Linux, the operating system, is waiting for us to input a command. A command is input by typing the command and then pressing the key return or enter. Let's call the key return from now on. The command pwd prints the present working directory. Let me resize the terminal and let me open also a small text editor which I will be using as my whiteboard while this chapter and training takes place. So pwd is for present working directory. Directory is equivalent to folder in Windows. As you can see here, the present working directory is /home/Panagiotis, which means that we live in the folder. We're now in the folder Panagiotis, which belongs to the folder home. Home is also called the parent folder of Panagiotis, and Panagiotis is called the child folder of home. A directory can have many children directories, but a directory can only have one parent directory. So pwd prints the current working, the present working directory. A directory can contain files or other directories. If we want to see the contents of the present working directory, if we want to see a list of the contents of the present working directory, we type in the command ls. So ls is from list.
we use it to list the contents of a directory. Usually ls is not so useful because it does not tell you which entries are directories and which entries are files, so we usually use the command ls-l, which stands for list long. ls-l lists the contents of the present working directory, and as you can see, for each entry there is a line with details of the entry. One important detail here is that all the directories start with the letter D, whereas all the files start with dash. So it shows here that there is a directory desktop inside the folder that we are currently in. There is another directory documents, and there is a file with name robot2.rb and some other files. I'm not going to tell you yet what L stands for, but I'm gonna stay here that ls-l lists the contents of the present working directory and gives a lot of details for each one of the entries. Another important detail is the size in bytes of each entry. Now, if you want to clear the contents of the terminal, you can issue the command clear, and now everything is a white terminal, which gives you a new prompt to type in a new command. If you want to create a new directory inside the present working directory, you should use the command mkdir, make directory. So if I want, for example, to create a directory introduction, I will issue the command mkdir introduction. If there is no error in the creation of this directory, I will not get any message back. So I assume that the directory has been created successfully. So if you want to see whether the introduction directory has been created or not, you can always do ls. You see, the directory has been created. If you want to make sure that it is a directory that you are looking at, ls-l will list the list of contents, will list the contents of the present working directory, and this is the introduction directory that has been created. There is a very useful variation of the ls, which is ls-l tr. ls-l tr is for list time reverse. Is going to give you the list of the contents of the present working directory with the most recent entries and changes at the bottom. And you see here that the latest change is the creation of the directory introduction. This D indicates that we're talking about a directory. So we are in home Panayotis, and we have a directory inside home Panayotis which has the name introduction. What if we want to go into the directory introduction? We're using the command cd. which is for change directory. So we do cd introduction, and we're going to leave now for a little bit inside the directory introduction, which means that if we type in present working directory, we're gonna see that we are inside the introduction directory, which resides inside the Panagiotis directory, which resides inside the home directory. I think you have noticed that the present working directory is also displayed to the left of the $Linux command prompt. Actually, what we see is the name of the folder, the directory, which is a child of this symbol slash. This symbol is used in Linux to denote the home directory of the currently logged in user. So this is the tiled symbol, which is used for the home directory of the currently logged in user. So in our case, /home/Panagiotis is equivalent to tiled, and vice versa. Which means that if we go back with change directory to home, will take us back to the home directory, and this is equivalent to cd/home/Panagiotis, but of course using the tiled means we can type less. Now let's go back to the introduction directory. We go to this directory with cd introduction, and we can always create another directory inside here. Let's call it chapter 1. If we do an ls, we see that there is one entry inside introduction directory. This entry has the name chapter 1. If we want to see whether it is a directory or a file, we can do ls-l, and we see that this is a directory. How do we move in to chapter 1? We do cd chapter 1. Now we are inside the chapter 1 directory, which is child of introduction directory, which is child of Panagiotis directory, which is child of home directory. And I can go very quickly to home Panagiotis if I type in cd tiled. Now the present working directory is /home/Panagiotis. And I can go back to chapter 1 with cd introduction chapter 1. So with one command I jump into chapter 1. Present working directory is chapter 1. And if I want to go to the parent directory of the present working directory, I type in cd ... means the parent directory of the present working directory. And if I do cd ... I am going to /home/Panagiotis, which is the parent directory of introduction. I think it is clear how the present working directory and the cd can make us travel from one directory to another. And what if we want to create a file? One way to create a file is to use an editor. Debian comes with the editor gedit. You can access that from applications, accessories, gedit text editor. Here it is, and we can type in a text and then save it. This is a text file, sample for introduction to programming. In order to save it, you do File, Save, and you have to give a name to that. Let's call that sample.txt. Now we have created that to the home folder of the currently logged in user, which means that if we do ls-l tr time reverse, we will see the new file just created. It is a file and not a directory, and we see its name here. If we want to see the contents of the text file, we can always do a cat sample.txt will give us the contents of the file. Cat file will give us the contents of the file at hand. So let's see that one. You see the content of the file sample.txt. This is a text file, sample for introduction to programming, exactly what we have typed in to gedit. And what is the command that we can use to delete this file? The command that we can use to delete this file is rm sample.txt. rm is for remove, and it is used to delete a file. Let's do that. Now the file has been deleted. If we do ls-ltr, we will not see the sample.txt file anymore. Let's go to introduction directory again with cd, change directory. Let's do an ls-l. We will see the chapter 1 directory inside the introduction directory. What if we want to delete, to remove the directory? It is rm-r chapter 1. If we just do rm chapter 1, we will get an error, cannot remove chapter 1 because it is a directory. But if we need to use a variation of rm, which is rm-r chapter 1. This one is going to remove the whole directory. ls-l inside introduction directory will not be depicting anymore the chapter 1 directory because it has been removed. And if we go back to the parent directory of introduction, which is the home directory of the currently logged in user, we cannot use the same command to remove the introduction directory. Now ls-ltr does not show anymore the introduction directory. This is how we go from one directory to another, how we create files, how we remove files in Debian. Another easy way to see the contents of your computer in the Debian environment is to go to Applications, System Tools, File Browser. It's similar to the file browser in Windows. It shows you here the folders, and here it tells you that you are on the Panayotis folder. It displays here the contents of this folder. Whenever you have a folder, there's a special icon. You can always switch to list view if you want to get details of the contents. And you can always go inside the directories by clicking the arrows to expand and collapse. You can double click a folder and you go inside the folder to see whether it contains any items or not. This is the file browser. I think it makes navigation quite easy. I think this is enough for a start, and these are the basic skills you need to follow the introduction to programming inside the Linux Debian environment.